Thanks a lot.
Is that what you wanted me to do? Well, it's probably a slow. Nice outlet.
I didn't get that. Yes.
Good evening. We'll call the Palmyra Town Board meeting to order Monday, August 11th, 6 p.m. at the Palmyra Town Hall located in W1125, Highway 106, Palmyra. Certification of compliance with open meetings law.
Yes, the agenda was turned and posted.
Roll call.
Kayasky.
Here.
Martins.
Here.
Sauter.
Here.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Approval of town board minutes of 7/14/25.
I make a motion that we approve the town board minutes of 7/14/25.
Second.
Motion been made to approve the minutes from 7/14/25 and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Approve payments of bills as presented with a roll call vote.
GFL Environmental, $10,199.91. J&H Customs, $1,500. Catalyst Tax, $3,125. Josh Kayesky, $230.87. Rob Martins, $230.87. Frank Sauter, $369.40. Michelle Smith, $3,329.22. Northwest Services, $3,885. Palmyra Youth School District, $50. Humane Society of Jefferson County, $280.40. Palmyra True Value, $38.64. Pending approval later in the agenda, Farmer Asphalt, $273,901.75. We Energy, $65.52. We Energy, $78.56.
Questions on the bills?
No, I make a motion that we approve payment of the bills as presented.
I'll second it. Roll call vote.
Kayasky.
Aye.
Martins.
Aye.
Sauter.
Aye. Public comment. Citizen statement should be limited to 3 minutes. Although the public may speak on any item not included on this agenda, the board cannot respond or discuss the issue brought forward at this time in accordance with the open meetings law. The board must notice an item on the agenda to allow for discussion on that matter. Your comments will be considered and may be placed on a future agenda for further discussion. Do you have anything to say about it? Terry Orchard, please rise and state your address.
Terry Orchard, W137 Little Prairie Road, Palmyra. our situation. Do we know the number of years for the contract and who's gonna maintain it after? And I know they say there's no leakage, but what if and who's responsible? Is it connected to their acreage or not? And if it's not, then they don't have to think about looking at it. And what if they could sell it for a subdivision for the town tax base so they can give back to the community? And also, we were approached and we didn't even accept and didn't think about it because there's only so much land. That's all.
Thank you. Correspondence. Go ahead, Michelle.
Well, the only thing I have, Frank, is we've got our preliminary population number from the state. It comes every August as a preliminary number. It says for 2025, Palmyra has 1,222 residents. Last year we had 1,228, so an increase of 14 people. And a final number will come in October, but it should probably remain December unless we challenge it. I can't imagine when we will.
Okay, I sent an email to the DNR asking for help with this tree matter that borders their property to see what kind of help they would give us. For example, you go out Tamarack, there's a couple big orange X's that put on 2 big trees that technically is theirs. However, I did get a response back from them. They're willing somewhat to work with us. And I'll read this. Hi, Michelle. My apologies for not getting back to you sooner. As the superintendent of the Palmyra, now this is from Brian Lemke's superintendent out there. Superintendent of the Palmyra State Forest Southern Unit. I am the person you were looking for. While we have several DNR programs working out of our office that manage different parts of the forest, I am the property manager. It's my understanding the trees within the road right-of-way would be the town's responsibility. The trees are marked on Tamarack Road, appear to be less than 15 feet from the pavement, which should place them within the 66-foot right-of-way. That being said, I would like to be a good neighbor / partner with you. We have tried to keep vegetation down along some of the trail crossings, and I am open to the town dropping trees into the forest and just leaving them as long as I am aware of the location. I would like to check with the forester to make sure it wouldn't interfere with an active timber sale. We also have some state natural areas along Young Road closer to Highway H, so I would want to make sure the ecologist is fine with the tree in the area that they burn every couple of years. The tree that we burn every couple of years. We also sell firewood permits, so wood near the roads generally doesn't last more than a season or two. That's basically what he responded. That's something. When you look at those 2 huge trees, some of you are familiar with what I'm talking about. But still going to take northwest of drop them trees, and you got to make sure they go the right way. Can you give a little input on that?
Well, if we verify that those trees they're talking about are within the right of way,
I'm pretty sure they are. What do you think, Josh? The 2 big ones that are.
I haven't specifically, but believe it or not, I got a 33-foot rope and an anchor on the end of it that I've been using for tree measurement, if you want to call it that. So,
it's worth verifying.
That's
simply denying the fund.
right. I agree. Just so I got that from them. That's their response. I know a lot of you have a concern with the cost of the trees and the whole thing. I'll just say it's better than nothing. What's going on here in the past. We'll move on and talk a little bit more about it in the highway section. Okay, that's that. Now, the reports, I'm going to move the fire department one up because the assistant chief here has to get to another meeting. I do have the report. Do you have it with you? Or?
I unfortunately do not.
I'll give you the report.
Okay.
July, the town had 3 EMS calls, 2 fire, 3 EMS fire calls, with a paramedic and mutual aid request given. The village had 25 EMS, 0 fire EMS. That was July. Hey, you want to give us a little update on what happened, please, with the lightning striking the people or whatever happened out there?
Okay. So this last Saturday, we had what we call a high acuity call. We were dispatched for a lightning strike that occurred off the Emma Carlin Trail where it possibly struck a person. We responded. It took us a little bit to get to them only because they were well over a mile off the road into the forest. 2 people were actually struck by the lightning. The lightning didn't strike them. It struck a tree that they were standing next to, and it caused what we call a ground current, where it basically just came through the tree, energized the ground around the tree, and they just happened to be standing close enough. One person refused care, one person was transported to the hospital, and they are still in the hospital at this time.
Anything else you think we need to know about that?
That call is what they were talking about when mutual aid was called. With that, we had Sullivan Fire Department, Rome Fire Department, the Wisconsin DNR, Jefferson County Sheriff's Office were all helping us with that call.
Guys, any questions? Thank you very much.
No problem.
Have a good day.
All right, you as well.
Good luck at your next meeting.
Yeah, nothing but meetings today. I think this makes number 6. You guys have a good night.
Okay, treasurer's report.
In our general checking account, as of July 31st, we had $70,719.05. In our tax account, $4,855.54. The airport checking account has a balance of $45,324.63. And the local government investment pool balance for the town is $91,027.57. The town, in July, paid their first loan payment, which we paid $165,549. That is it.
Questions, gentlemen? Reports report.
Don't have much. We've been notified by Jefferson County that we are going to need to upgrade our election machines. Countywide, that will be happening. Palmyra has only one. The county is going to pay half of the cost of it, and that'll be happening next year.
What's the rough cost on that?
I think it was 7,000 and some odd for one machine, so half of it.
Highway. How are you doing there, Mr. Highway? Bob, how are you?
Doing good.
You kind of dead last month, till yesterday. Right, I mean, for us, in the town of Palmyra.
Yeah, it's been kind of nice, hasn't it?
I will tell you, gentlemen, we got a call yesterday, a huge one went down on Zion Road. We got it off the road yesterday and had to finish up some work. And I decided to take a ride around the block on Tower and back Tamarack, and of course, on the hill, the tree laying almost all the way across the road. So we went out there first and cleaned that up and finished on Zion. So that's been the only call to them. As you can see by the building. I guess we're good if you don't have anything. What do you think about the bigger trees? You know, some of them like on Tamarack Road that are dead. The smaller ones shouldn't be an issue dropping into the forest. But those 2 big ones.
As long as it drops out of the mowing lane, you don't want to have that happen, so. Yeah, if you drop them in the forest, that's one thing, but you still want to get them past the mowing lane.
Well, when you get a rainy day, kind of look around those areas.
Yeah. You want to measure those 2 trees up you're talking about?
Huh?
I can measure those trees you're talking about.
Yeah, go ahead and do that.
We'll see exactly where they are, and then you'll have something better to go on.
Right, those 2 big ones, though, I got somebody that wants them. If we get them over.
We'll get them on the ground.
So,
That's not a problem.
Okay, all done?
You sure you got something for me?
I was just gonna give you one
Couple more, what?
more updates.
Oh, go ahead.
So last month we approved our third member for the highway committee, hoping to have a meeting this month for 3 different things. One is trees, second is some remaining ditching items that we had this spring. Above and beyond that, looking towards 2026 for potential road projects, budget estimates, recommendations as we start moving into budget season here. So aside from that, corresponded with County Highway Department last week. I was not out there today to see if they started, but they are planning on finishing the shouldering of Tamarack this, this weekend, so that would wrap up that project.
Any questions, Rob? Airport, it's me, yes. The hangar out there, the new T hangar is basically all enclosed. We're doing the approaches. We're working on that today. Other than that, I really don't have anything else to report. There is an airport commission meeting the 28th. It's going to be at 7 o'clock because we have a budget meeting here.
7:30, it's been changed.
7:30. Airport commission meeting. Thank you. Blue Spring Lake District.
Yeah, a couple things. One, our president of the Lake District, Jim Hockman, resigned, retired, whatever you want to call it, to be replaced on an interim basis by Mark Nicholson, who's been on the Lake District Board. It'll be up for re-election, as far as I know, at our annual residents electors meeting Saturday of Labor Day, so the 30th, I guess. And the other subject is the 4th of July fireworks that were canceled due to inclement weather and rescheduled for Labor Day weekend will be Saturday the 30th at dusk. A rain date of Sunday the 31st. So Saturday the 30th they'll have the fireworks a couple months later. That's it.
Building inspector.
I haven't received his monthly reports. That's all the information.
Emergency management plan. We are scheduled to have a meeting here pretty quick in August at the school, as far as the schools participating. You don't know that one, or?
I did not hear anything yet. Did you?
No, but I
The
believe
date?
it
Oh.
was August. Terry goes to it.
Okay, I'll check into that.
Mike, do you know what I'm talking about? The school, Waukesha County, in our school districts over Eagle and here, what do you want to call it? Kind of a task, meeting of the minds type thing, the sheriffs of both counties, administrators, etc. Just planning for, let's face it, an active shooter or a disaster of some kind. Just, we're all working together to try to come up with the best plan available. They're very good meetings. Not for sure. So, very, very good.
All right, well, welcome, I didn't even know that. Can anybody come to that?
Well, no, they invite people.
Oh, they have like, okay. I didn't.
You have to ask the school administrator, but I'm pretty sure.
Okay.
Yeah, the sheriff's department. I know they've been down here, I know they're not here, but they've done some directed patrols on Tamarack Road. Irene's sitting back there, isn't she? You see the activities out there, speed, the trucks.
Trucks not lately. Last week and the week before, there was a number of them. There was like 3, like in a span of a couple days. They were all semis. There goes our nice road. So, and there's always speeders. So if they can make some money for the county, go for it.
$15, you just put a car in Palmyra Township, they earn their money every day.
Just put a blow-up sheriff in his car.
Anyway, okay, anything else on that? No. New business, number 1, Johnson Blot, presentation of town and airport audit for 2024, and request for board adoption of audit. Who's on the hot seat back there?
Got two of us this year.
Okay. See, now I told you that, I knew there was a man at the door. That's great. Go ahead, folks.
Alright, so introductions. I'm Megan Johnson. This is Jeff Osbog from Johnson Block. We're two of the auditors on your audit team. The audit was issued about a week and a half ago, I think, so we just have the audit overview here that we want to go over with you guys. Kind of high-level summary of the 2024 audit. So on that first page, it goes through the content of the audit report. The first bullet point is the independent auditor's report, which is our deliverable to you guys as the auditors. It's, 3 or 4 pages long, and it basically goes through some generic language, and then it details our opinion, which was an unmodified opinion, which means the financial statements are not materially misstated. And then the next part of the audit report is the actual financial statements. So the town has fund financial statements of the general fund, which combines the town and the airport financials into one. And those are prepared on the modified accrual basis, which means revenues are recorded when they're both measurable and available, and then expenditures are recorded when the liability is incurred and expected to be paid within a short amount of time. And then the bulk of the report would be the notes to the financial statements, which contain summary of significant accounting policies, and then the other footnotes are a little bit more detailed about specific sections of the financial statements, like cash, debt, fund balance. And then the last part of the audit report is the required supplementary information and the supplementary information, which are the budget to actual comparison schedules. So it compares your budget, 2024 budget, to the actual revenues and expenditures that occurred in 2024. Another report that we submitted on behalf of the town was to the DOR Municipal Financial Report, Form CT, which is due in May annually. So we did that on time. That's used to determine state shared revenues and state transportation aid for the following year. Another report that we are required to issue every year is the required audit communications, which contains 3 separate letters. The first letter is the standard communication that includes a list of audit adjustments, kind of goes over what our responsibilities as your auditors are and what the town's responsibilities over the financial statements. Next section of that report includes material weaknesses. So these are required communications that if we find internal control deficiencies, that we communicate those to the board in the town. There were 2 material weaknesses this year, which were material audit adjustments. So if these audit adjustments had not been made, the financial statements could be materially misstated. And then lack of segregation of duties. Both of these comments are very common for our smaller municipalities. Lack of segregation of duties. Of course, Michelle's really the only one in the office, and then a smaller board, so not really able to segregate some of those responsibilities. And the last section of that report is the management letter, which provides recommendations to the town to help strengthen internal controls. We had 3 comments this year. There were some expenditures in excess of the budget. So with that, maybe consider a budget amendment later in the year if you're seeing that there are really high highway costs but lower public safety costs. Maybe those expenses could be reallocated. And then again, budget recommendations, that kind of goes within that one. And then year-end closing procedures, just having official procedures approved by the board that whoever is in the clerk treasurer position would follow.
And then on to me, starting on page 1, we get into the actual financial statements themselves. And so page 1 here basically is all related to the balance sheet of the general fund. It's basically a condensed balance sheet of what you would see in the audit report itself. So Starting with the assets, you'll see that the majority of the town's assets were in the form of cash and taxes receivable. Now those balances are pretty significant, and I just want to note that the majority of those balances, since the town is the collecting agent for the tax collection process, the majority of those balances relate to the other taxing units, for example, cash collections that were received at year end that will get paid out to the other taxing units here in 2025 kind of thing, or the taxes receivable, that's not all town taxes, that's all taxes related to the tax roll. And then liabilities, you'll see the largest liability there was due to other governments, again, since the town's a taxing agent, that is shown as a liability as the other taxing units' tax levy amounts. But then deferred inflows or resources, that amount there, that is the town's portion of the 24 tax levy recognized as revenue in 2025. So that's the amount that will be shown on the town's books in 2025. And then the net amount is fund balance. So fund balance at the end of 2024 was about almost $142,000, and that was compared to a slight deficit there of about $6,000 in 2023. And then we also split out fund balance there by the two sort of applicable fund balance classifications. So there's assigned fund balance and unassigned fund balance. And then we have a sentence there at the bottom noting that unassigned fund balance is 1% of the 2025 budgeted expenditures. And the reason we sort of note that is just to get a gauge of what the town's sort of reserve is in place in case of any unexpected expenditures, decreases in funding, things to that nature. And the town actually has a minimum fund balance policy that the unassigned fund balance should be at least 25%. So as you can see, the 1% is much lower than the 25%. However, that was knowing that there was a deficit at the end of 2023. This was going to be a multi-year process to try to get that fund balance back up. So overall, compared to 2023 and 2024, the town is on the right track there to bring fund balance back up to a reasonable, sufficient, healthy, unassigned fund balance reserve. But again, it will probably take multiple years to.
What do you think that should be? $1 figure, give me $1 figure.
Oh, I guess it depends on the year. So like, for example, we are comparing this to the 2025 budgeted expenditures, so I don't recall what your 25 budget is, but you know, like in 2024, for example, expenditures was about $975,000. We'll see on here on the next couple pages. But so you know, if you take 25% of that, theoretically unassigned fund balance should be about that amount.
So
kind of thing.
if it was $1 million, we should have 250,000.
Exactly right. Yep.
For the same-
Based off of the town's policy. Yes.
Okay, now, have you seen that policy?
Yes.
Okay. Well, right
Yeah, it's been a
before
couple of years now. That's yeah.
So we're back to how much now?
1%.
1% at the end of 2024.
Okay, it's
Yeah, that's why I mentioned this wasn't going to be a 1-year thing. It was going to be a multi-year process. But again, you're on the right track there, definitely, comparing 2023 to 2024. And then on page 2, we get into the first part. There is basically a summarized budget to actual statement. So you'll see there that the town had an expectation that fund balance was going to increase by almost $92,000 in 2024. And I will point out that this does include budget amendments that you, the board, approved during 2024. So that was sort of the prudent thing to do. You know, if there are any, sort of what Megan was mentioning, if there are any, you know, material expenditures that were paid out during the year, or revenues that came in during the year that you didn't originally have in your budget, it makes sense to make budget amendments like that so you have a better sense of what your actual change in fund balance may be at year end. So when you compare your expected increase in fund balance, about $92,000 there, to actual fund balance increased about $148,000. So right there, your expectation was fairly close to what actually happened. So, and again, overall fund balance increasing $148,000. That's in a good step to continue to bring your fund balance reserve back up. And then our other comparison there, we are just comparing the general obligation debt, so your capacity, your overall debt capacity, and comparing that to what the overall debt outstanding was at the end of 2024 and 2023. So as you can see, the town was only using at the end of 24 1.27% of its overall potential, its overall debt limit. And we have a 5-year analysis here coming up in the next couple pages to sort of show that as well, but still well within your debt limit.
1.5%. That's it.
Basically.
242,000, and you say we could go as high as $19 million.
Yep.
Well, we're not getting a lot of ladies.
But there is that in case of,
Well, I just can't believe it's.
right, and I know this year you went out for debt, and if there are other, you know, reasons that you feel like you need to, you have plenty of opportunity or space to do that. There we go. So page 3 here, now we get into a 5-year trend analysis of the general fund's expenditures. I won't necessarily get too in depth on the historical data there, but you will see there are 2 larger spikes there, 2021 and 2022. The spike there in 21, so that's public works, the green line there, that's public works related expenditures, and that was, majority of that was the Little Prairie Road project. So that was a pretty significant project here in the town a few years ago. And then 2022, the orange line, that spike was debt service. So the town took out a loan basically to help finance that project. And then I believe in 2021, the town received state aid basically to help pay for half of that project. So once the town received that aid, the town paid down their debt basically in 2022 with those revenues. So that's the reason for those 2 larger spikes in the past year, in past years. But when you compare 2023 to 2024, overall expenditures stayed fairly consistent. The expenditures did go down between years, but when you take a look at the actual classifications themselves, I guess the capital outlay, there weren't really any capital expenditures this year or in 24. Debt service decreased, but otherwise the other classifications were pretty consistent between years.
Excuse me, one quick question on the totals.
Yeah.
At the bottom of page 3, that's taking into account the audited actual year-end balance for each one of those categories.
Correct. Yeah.
So,
Yeah, exactly. So
these
the
are expenses only not net of, like you said, that service that was issued in 2021. It's showing the actual outlay in 2022, not the net of how that whole process worked.
correct. Yep. These are the true gross expenditures that were made. Then page 4, just another representation of the general fund expenditures, just in pie chart form now, just showing the different percentage allocations of the expenditure classifications. So with capital outlay, 0 capital outlay expenditures and debt service expenditures going down in 2024, that fluctuated some of the percentages of the pie. They have different pieces of the pie per se, but overall nothing unusual there. Page 5, another 5-year trend analysis now of the general fund's revenues. Again, that large spike in the red line, so that's the intergovernmental revenues. So that was the state aid that the town was awarded to help pay for Little Prairie Road. And then again, comparing 2023 to 2024, those revenues were fairly consistent between years as well. Revenue did decrease a little bit between years, but overall, fairly consistent. No large fluctuations there. And then another pie chart analysis now for the general fund's revenues. Again, not any major fluctuations there in the different percentages.